Excellent, excellent. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lieutenant Governor Susan Bysiewicz, and I am so honored to be with you virtually today to kick off and celebrate Black History Month, and also to highlight legislation that's been championed by Senator Doug McCrory, Representative Bobby Gibson, Representative Bobby Sanchez, Representative Gerry, Reyes, and the entire Black and Puerto Rican caucus of Connecticut. Last year, our state became the first state in the nation to require all high schools in the state to offer courses on African American, Black, Puerto Rican, and Latino studies. We know that identities matter, and all of our students, regardless of their background, race, gender, or zip code, would benefit from a deep knowledge of the journeys, challenges, and successes of people who not only look like them, but also those who do not. But these journeys, challenges, and successes deserve to be taught more than just in a single month designated for that history. Black history, Latino history, Puerto Rican history are all an integral part of the American experience and the American story. The governor and I firmly believe in the importance of introducing our students to inspirational figures so that they can follow in their footsteps. Because if we show our students that if someone who looks like them can become the first Black woman elected to the United States Congress, like Shirley Chisholm, or the first Black and Asian American vice president, like Kamala Harris, the first Black female engineer at NASA, like Mary W. Jackson, the first Latina U.S. Air Force pilot, like Lieutenant Colonel Olga Custodio, or the first Hispanic American astronaut, like Franklin Chang Diaz, the first female Hispanic American astronaut, Ellen Oka. They will know that they too can become history makers of tomorrow and achieve their dreams and aspirations. So last year, Connecticut became the first state in the nation to require all high schools in the state to offer courses on African American, Black, Puerto Rican, and Latino studies. The requirements is the result of a law Governor Lamont signed last year, Public Act 1912, that directs all regional and local boards of education to include an elective course of studies at the high school level that provides students with a better understanding of African American, Black, Puerto Rican, and Latino contributions to United States history, society, economy, and culture. High schools can offer the course in 2021 to 22, and will be required to offer it during the school year that begins in the fall of 2022. So this year it's optional, but next year it is required. The adopted curriculum focuses on a two-pronged inquiry-based approach that includes both content knowledge and student identity development. It utilizes Connecticut's social studies framework themes and inquiry-based approaches already familiar to social studies teachers so that they can deliver a content-rich and personalized learning experience. The Connecticut State Department of Education partnered with the State Education Resource Center, or SERC, to develop the curriculum. And this development process was guided by a 150-member advisory group that was comprised of educators, administrators, higher education professors, scholars, national researchers, and historians, as well as representatives from the education and community organizations and families. The group organized into 9 committees with specific tasks, and the work of each committee was facilitated by a SERC liaison to ensure seamless communication and workflow between the committees. Additionally, an expert review panel was convened consisting of 10 national and state level experts to review the course deliverables as they were developed and provide critical thinking and resources. Other opportunities for stakeholder involvement included providing feedback through surveys and focus groups. So we're excited about this curriculum, and we are even more excited to bring together our education leaders, both in our State Department of Ed, the legislators who brought this trailblazing legislation into reality. And we also have some students from the Hartford Public Schools. So to start us off, I'd like to call on State Department of Education Deputy Desi Nesmith. Desi, thank you so much for joining us, and please talk about what the State Department of Education has done to prepare for this exciting work.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor, and thank you for the invitation to be with you all this afternoon. This is a momentous occasion, given the amount of work and the scope of work that has gone into where we are today and getting us to the point where we are. You know, we know, as you mentioned, Lieutenant Governor, identity matters, particularly when 27% of our student body identifies as Latino or Hispanic, 13% identify as Black. This curriculum is one piece of a bridge to connect a story of people of color to American history. And that is powerful. You know, when our students see themselves and when we have more inclusive opportunities for kids to learn, kids are better engaged. We know that is a fact. And we also know that this law also passed in large part because of students and because of the advocacy of students around this issue. And I want to particularly call those students out and really thank them for the student voice that has been part of the reason and what has led us to where we are today. I also want to just again thank the same folks that you mentioned, Lieutenant Governor. You know, Bobby Gibson, Doug McCrory, Bobby Sanchez. I mean, a lot of folks behind the scenes helped to champion this effort and get this over the finish line. And I also want to just call out Ingrid Canady, who is not only a friend, but has been a tremendous partner. And the setup that she has created at SERC to help develop this with our folks at the SDE, we can't thank them enough to have provided the resources and the time and the energy and the manpower to pull this off in the amount of time that they had. Just want to really call out SERC for the tremendous lift that they provided and helped all of us to get this over the finish line. And again, just very proud to have been asked to be here with you this afternoon and look forward to continuing the work, because we know that this is just the beginning. This is not by any means the end point. And so we know we have more work to do, and we look forward to continuing to do that work behind the scenes with all of you on this call. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor.
Thank you so much, Deputy. And now we're going to go to one of the architects of this important legislation, State Senator Doug McCrory. Senator, thank you so much for joining us. Okay, I know Senator McCrory is with us. Where did he go?
Here.
Yes, you know.
There he is.
Can you hear me now?
Ah,
Yes.
yep, we can.
Can you see me now?
We can see you.
Okay, great. I'll be brief. First of all, I want to thank you for giving me an opportunity to be on this panel. I really appreciate it. I think Desi hit the nail on the head, thanking SERC and especially Ingrid Canada for efforting this and getting this legislation to, not the legislation, but getting the curriculum to where it needs to be. I'll just say briefly, as a 30-year educator in Connecticut, it is well past time that we've done something like this. I know, you know, that this works. I've used it before in my classrooms. Kids need to see representation. Representation matters. There's a line I always use. You can't be what you don't see. And when you don't see your stories in the curriculum, you lose motivation. You lose self-esteem. But when you see your stories, the stories of your families and your brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles embedded into the curriculum, it makes that curriculum come to life. I am so excited that Connecticut, we in Connecticut will be building 21st century students that will create and develop a critical consciousness and a civic mindedness to look at things from a different perspectives. It's extremely important now in this time in our society, in our culture, for everyone to understand other people's perspective. But by developing this curriculum, our students will examine historical movements, legislations, wars that have affected their citizenship and their rights as a people. And it's extremely important that everyone understands this. And I'll say myself personally, as a kid, I was educated in a segregated elementary school in North Hartford, but I had teachers who understood and who valued me, both Black and white teachers who taught us who we were and where we came from. Unfortunately, when I moved on to high school, I was one of very few African-American students of color that went to that high school. And actually February was the worst time in the month for me because all I learned was that I was a slave. All I learned was what people did for me and did for my people, my community. I didn't learn my stories until much years later. And that's going to change with this curriculum. I'm excited about it. We know we have a lot more work to do. We have to provide professional development for our teachers who's going to teach this class. And we know it's going to be a heavy lift because it's change. And change doesn't come easy. And we know we're in a state of steady habits, but we're going to give those educators the tools they need. We're going to give our students, when they go back into the classroom, the information they need so they can be 21st century learners and ready to take on society that is waiting for them. So with that being said, again, lastly, the real step, the next step is to build a model curriculum, curriculum from K to 8th grade that includes perspectives from the early age. We shouldn't have to wait to high school for kids to learn about other perspectives. So thank you again for having me, and I'll wait and listen to my colleagues. I know I'll be excited, and I hope they be excited just as much as I am. Thank you.
Senator, thank you so much, especially for the observation and the exclamation point on if you can see it, you can be it. This really is highlighting how our students can be future leaders, and we appreciate your participation. And next, I'd like to introduce Representative Bobby Sanchez. Representative Sanchez, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor, and thank you, Governor Lamont. And SERC, Ingrid, great job. Looking forward to seeing this curriculum. And also the State Board of Education, that teamwork that was put together to work and develop this curriculum, and I'm very excited. And my co-chair, Doug McCrory, hit it right on the head with the fact that we have to expand this from pre-K all the way up to 8th grade and high school and beyond. I, as a preschool teacher, would love to see something like this developed so that our pre-K students can start learning about themselves. And, you know, I have to go back about 8 years ago when I was in a lecture hall at New Britain High School, and that lecture hall was full of students. There were at least 200 students in that lecture hall, and I would say about 80% of the students in that hall were Latino. And when I asked the question, the simple question, and talked about the 65th Regiment Infantry, which is the Borinqueneers, I was stunned that only 3 hands were raised when I said, how many of you know about the Borinqueneers? Out of 200 students, 3 hands went up. And I said, okay, we have a problem. We really need to teach our students about these brave men and women that fought for this country, and the majority of them being Puerto Rican. And our own students didn't know about that. And so there was issues, and there is issues, and I'm glad that Representative Bobby Gibson brought forward the curriculum about 2 years ago too, when he brought to our attention about the African American and Black Studies curriculum. And I said, this is a great opportunity to move forward and get this curriculum out. And I was so excited that we were able to get this to move forward and that the governor signed it into law. And I hope that we can see this expand in the years to come. And another big thing that we need to really fight for, that we've been struggling, is minority teacher recruitment, something that we really need to focus on moving forward, because we only have 8% of the total teaching population in the state of Connecticut that are teachers of color. And particularly also men. There's not many men in teaching in the school systems as well. So, and I can say that because I was the only male when I became a preschool teacher in the Head Start program. I was the only male teacher in the whole state of Connecticut at that time. I couldn't believe it, but we do have that issue. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be here today. And I look forward to hearing from everyone else. Thank you.
Representative Sanchez, thank you so much. And we're going to need your continued efforts to focus on minority teacher recruitment, especially since I believe we're going to be losing our Commissioner Cardona. And we're going to let the federal government use his educational expertise and advocacy. And we now would like to bring into the conversation Representative Bobby Gibson. Representative Gibson, tell us what inspired you to bring this legislation forward.
Good afternoon, Lieutenant Governor Bysiewicz, thank you for asking me that. I would first like to thank Governor Lamont for putting this together along with yourself and Deputy Commissioner Nesmith. It's nice to see you, and thank you for stepping in today. To my colleagues at the state legislature, to Ms. Canady for SERC, and to Superintendent Rodriguez, and to all the wonderful students who are going to speak today, I just would like to make sure that everyone knows how important today is and how historic it is. This press conference is historic, as I said, because it's just another step in recognizing the achievements of Black and Puerto Ricans to our country. We must never forget that Black history is American history. The achievements of Black Americans are interwoven into the fabric of our nation. This history must be taught, for the contributions of our people are told by the stories and the history that we are sharing today. And how fantastic it is that this press conference we're having was actually started by Carter G. Woodson, the father of Black History Month, who is a member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. But Lieutenant Governor, let me just say what started this. So it was a perfect storm. You know, I have been an educator for approximately 26 years, and being in my classroom with my science students, we would go over different aspects of history, and you would look at our science books or look at our history books, and the representations of Black people and Puerto Rican people would not even amount to a quarter of a couple of pages in that book. And so, you know, we would struggle at times to find out where we would sit in history. And it's all about images and what we see. You know, we all get up in the morning and we go to our jobs, we turn on the TV, and what do we see? We see some wonderful and talented anchor people. But we have to be very honest with ourselves. Let's really look at the facts. Most of the people that we see on TV are white. When we go to the movies, most representation is white. When we see our leaders, most leaders are white. So, you know, that sends a message to our Black students and also our white students. And I think that spoke loudly through the efforts or the instances that happened throughout the past summer. And so the perfect storm happened when I was elected. I'm a newly elected legislator back in 2018. And I was approached by Dr. Ben Foster, a mentor of mine. And he said, Bobby, now's the time. So we met in the office of Dr. James Thompson, the Superintendent of Schools of Bloomfield Public Schools, along with Mr. Don Harris, who's the Chairman of the Board of Education in Bloomfield. And we started working. We then later brought in Senator Doug McCrory, and he added more to it as being the head of the Education Committee. And we were able to really put together a good piece of legislation in which we then had to work and go around the state and get support for. And, you know, as someone said about the students, you know, we had a group called the Students from Educational Justice come down and call me down to New Haven. So I drove down there and I'm thinking I'm going to meet with these kids and, you know, rah-rah this and rah-rah that. But they were so passionate about Black history and having this bill brought forth that it was so incredible. So as I went through the state and I would talk to different groups, and for example, I would mention Venture Smith, who was an enslaved prince out of Africa, who was brought to the United States as an enslaved person and worked so hard to free his family and start a business and to become part of the fabric of these United States in which we live. And so it just spoke to the fact that this history had to be taught. And so I'm so proud to be here and talking to you right now about it, because as I think Senator McCrory talked about, this is about teaching equity, and it's about the images that we see. And I would say that going forward, as Senator Sanchez said, this is just the beginning. And actually, everyone on this press conference, I would challenge you to become part of the team to making this not only an elective for high school, but make this something that's K to 12 and that's interwoven into the curriculum. That's how important it is. Because the more our kids know about each other and understand each other, the more they know about inclusion, the more they can love one another. And perhaps some of these ailments that we have in our nation right now would not exist. And before I stop, I would say that I am very proud of my school district, Bloomfield Public Schools, which is led by Superintendent James Thompson and the Chief Academic Officer, Stacy McCann, because we do a great job with teaching unbiasedness and professional development, reading books as a district. Actually, I believe SERC is going to be coming in to our district pretty soon to do professional development with the teachers. So I would just say this is an outstanding time to not only celebrate Black history, but to also strengthen the curriculum that we as a state, us as a team, state of Connecticut, put together. And I will also say this in closing, I look forward to working with United States Secretary Cardona, because let's be leaders, Connecticut. We have this in Connecticut, but let's be leaders and let's spread this out to other states. Let's lead the way. So thank you for those remarks.
Thank you so much, Representative Gibson. We really appreciate that. And we're going to go to Representative Gerry Reyes. Representative Reyes represents the Waterbury area, and he also is the leader of the BPRC. So please talk about this legislation from both perspectives, as a state representative from Waterbury, representing your community, but also leading the caucus.
Thank you, Madam Lieutenant Governor, and Governor Lamont. Thank you for the opportunity, and everybody who's on the call, is my esteemed colleagues in the House and Senate. This is a what I call a monumental day and a monumental step. One of the BPRC agenda has 7 pillars. One of it is education. Speaking about the equality and equity piece of education. This is very important. Connecticut has a reputation of being a segregated state. Imagine this is the state that actually moved forward Black, Puerto Rican, and Latino study, and is going to lead a way, because we are going to actually continue building off the platform, basically, of Dr. Cardona as he moves his agenda to Washington. He's going to take the model that he put here in Connecticut and move it forward. The equity piece, I believe, is long overdue. I am very complimentary of the leadership in education and Representative Gibson, who we've had many conversations about this, and I just look at this as one step. I personally did not know of the involvement, just simply from the stance of the African-American legacy, what they brought to the world wars, the Tuskegee Air Force men, the Navajo Indian code talkers, the Borinqueneers that Representative Sanchez mentioned. The island of Puerto Rico has been involved in every single conflict that the United States has had. The island is over 500 years old. This country is over 400 years old. It's been woven into this fabric of American history. And I say that sadly, that I did not learn any of these things until I got to college. And if you don't take history courses or social studies courses to expand your knowledge in college, you can actually go through a complete K-12 college education, come out knowing nothing about total American history the way it should be taught. And I am so proud that Connecticut has taken this bold step forward. It is only the first step. And I am proud that the BPRC were really the muscle behind this. And I want to be complimentary again of my esteemed colleague, the Vice Chair of the Black and Puerto Rican Caucus, Representative Gibson, for bringing this agenda forward. So state of Connecticut, kudos to you, but it's just a building block. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Representative Reyes. And now it's my pleasure to introduce our governor, Ned Lamont.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I think we're going to look back in 20 or 30 years and what was 2020, 2021, you know, we broke the back of COVID, we bridged the digital divide, whatever comes to mind. I think this day is really, really important in terms of what it says about who we are as Americans and what it says about education. And this is why it's so incredibly important to me. You know, I think, you know, Doug, you said it really well. If you can't see it, you can't be what you can't see. I think that's what you said. And too often we have an education system where people don't see themselves. And, you know, Bobby Sanchez, you said it really well. We've made a big priority in terms of recruitment and making sure we have more Black and brown teachers and more guys, to be blunt. And we got a long way to go. We've gone from, I think it's 8.5% to about 9.5% in the last year. We've got a long way to go, but what a difference we can make. And, you know, Bobby Gibson, look, this is not an elective course in high school. Our history, Black history, Puerto Rican history, Latino history, I'd say Indian American history is American history. And this should be taught as part of being an American and being able to recognize each other. And look, we're in the 50s, we're a melting pot. We're not a melting pot. We are an incredibly diverse group of folks who have got to better understand who we are and where we're from. And that's what this curriculum is all about. I mean, look, I'm a WASP, a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. We're taught at an early age, you know, you came across with the Pilgrims and the Mayflower. You know, we make it up. But it gives you, it was a little bit about who we were. And it gave you as a young person a sense of self. And, you know, African-American culture does not start with a slave ship. It starts with extraordinary civilizations all across Africa. We know about Alexandria, we know about Carthage, we know about Sudan, we know about Zimbabwe. You know, this is where mathematics got, you know, where advanced medical science became. These were extraordinary civilizations, and that's where the experience begins. And those civilizations in many ways were destroyed by colonization and then uprooted and torn by slavery. And that is tragically part of the experience as well. But to understand the whole person, for that young person to get a better sense of who they are, go back to where we started, and go back to what that meant back in Africa. It gives you a sense of who you are, what you can be, and well-being. And just as importantly, or more importantly, the white guys have got to learn about a broader diversity of history too, and what that African history was. And it's that better appreciation that makes us respect each other. And, you know, Gerry, when it comes to, you know, Puerto Rican and Latino history, let's face it, the Aztecs, the Incas, the Caribs, these were some of the great civilizations on this earth. And that is where we start teaching the history. And then as, you know, you point out, we go through, we talk about amazing leaders in the Black and Hispanic culture and give people some role models that they can aspire to and believe in. And I'd also say, I think it was an oversight. Native Americans are as American as apple pie, or as Miguel said, I'm as American as you know, apple pie and rice and beans. And I think we ought to add, you know, Doug, Native American experience as we better understand who we are, and that respect we have for each other is part of how we as a society come together. And I see a lot of friends in this screen. I can't think of a prouder job that I've had. I kind of love what I'm doing now, but when I taught at CCSU, Central Connecticut State University, I see my fellow teacher, Felton Best there. It's something that Felton and I maybe talked about on and off for our 2 years about how we teach people the full richness of their history and what it means about who they are and what it means and how we respect and look at each other. I think this is a big day for Connecticut. I hope we lead this around the rest of the country. And I hope Miguel Cardona carries the torch every day. It's a good day. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much, Governor. And we are indeed looking forward to seeing Senator Kathy Austin's legislation requiring the teaching of Native American history added to our curriculum, our history curriculums here in Connecticut, so that we have the full range of the American experience. We're now going to go to Dr. Leslie Torres-Rodriguez, who's the Superintendent of Schools for the City of Hartford. Dr. Torres-Rodriguez, thank you so much for joining us today.
Good afternoon, and thank you everyone for having me. Thank you, Governor Lamont, Lieutenant Governor Bysiewicz, Deputy Commissioner Nesmith, Senator McCrory, good to see you, Representative Sanchez, Gibson, and Reyes, Ingrid Canady from SERC, a long-term partner, and of course our student representatives. You know, Senator McCrory spoke about his least favorite month as a student, right? And that sticks out for us when we can identify those least favorite moments. We know that Black history is much more than a once per year event. Commemorating Black history is critical. It's critical to our shared responsibility to provide equitable access to education. For us in Hartford Public Schools, 29% of our students identify as Black or African American. And Black people represent the second largest racial or ethnic group in the city of Hartford, with a long and rich history in our city and our region. So as educators and as members of the Hartford community at Hartford Public Schools, we have to continue to highlight Black history respectfully and accurately. We also are dedicated to building school communities that support our Black students, but also our staff, ensuring that they feel safe, valued, and connected. Therefore, I applaud, along with everyone else, the hard work and the commitment and the leadership of legislators and other leaders who've made this long overdue representation of people of color in our curriculum a true reality. And I think about the responsiveness of curriculum and how key that is, because we know that culture informs thoughts, it informs behaviors, beliefs, it informs how we make meaning. And when the experiences of our African American, Black, Latino, Indigenous, and other students of colors do not engage them, then that means we're not including them in the process. That means that they do not see positive contributors and contributions that their ancestors have made, or that they don't understand the prevalence and the presence of racism throughout our history. So they may continue to see themselves negatively, right? So the curriculum, this curriculum opens up for students of color, but also for students of all backgrounds. It reveals truths about our diversity in a way that allows our students to affirm and empower them as leaders and as learners. So the content, you know, I see it bringing forth the truths that people of color have had agency. I think this is what the Governor Lamont was speaking to, that they have been key historical actors rather than passive agents, right? Throughout, you know, social forces or experiences. And one last thing that I will share, I refer to our students, all of them, as beautiful and capable students. Each one of them comes to us with aspirations and dreams, and it is our collective responsibility to create conditions and opportunities for them to reach those goals. And this curriculum is making that a reality, because we know that the quality of students' academic experiences in schools, it matters, and it's a shared responsibility that we have to their long-term success. So congratulations to us all, not only for getting this far, but for the work ahead as we actualize and deliver the curriculum across all of our classrooms.
Thank you so much, Madam Superintendent. I'd now like to introduce Ingrid Canady, State Education Resource Center, or from SERC, who helped us put together this curriculum. Ingrid, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much, Lieutenant Governor. I am humbled For those of you who know me, I'm an emotional person. I am humbled to be in your presence. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Governor Lamont. To my colleagues and friends that I got to interact for the last year so much.
Amen.
Thank you, Senator McCrory, Representative Sanchez, Representative Gibson, Representative Reyes. I am completely overwhelmed by this moment right now. And SERC has a history of 50 years of serving the state. And that could not happen without the assistance, support, and collaboration with our partners with the State Department of Education. Dr. Lavas, Dr. Hickey, I could name and name. But I want to speak to Lieutenant Governor, when you mentioned Franklin Ramon can be us. The pride that I felt in my heart, because I never forget being in Costa Rica when he was
the education
going up to space as a young Costa Rican person. Now to hear you say his name is exactly what this curriculum is about the pride of those ones who have created and opened doors for so many of us. So thank you for calling his name. So I would like to share with all of you, on behalf of the SERC staff, of our board of directors, how proud and honored we are that we are part of this historical moment. Webster's dictionary defines history as a chronological record of significant events that often are associated and include and explain why those events happened. For our state, the advocacy and collaboration that led to the signing of this critical legislation must be cataloged as the recognition in history, as the recognition that the contributions of African American, Black, Puerto Rican, and Latino communities must be highlighted as the central aspect of making and reshaping our society, our technologies, our art, our sciences. Such contributions have been muted for too long in our history books. As a state, we have taken the stand to recognize that our students call us to action to make their lived experiences and the experiences of their ancestors to be known by everyone. The curriculum is not just about our communities of color. This curriculum is about all of us. By acknowledging the truth of the painful mistakes that were made in the past and lifting the stories of the communities that through blood, sweat, and tears built this nation, we can envision healing, restoration, unity, and change. This curriculum sets the foundation to move from the 1 day, 1 month check. We did it. We celebrate African American history in February, or Historic Heritage Hispanic Month between September 15 and October 15, Asian Pacific American in May, American Indian Heritage in November, and so on and so on. This curriculum is telling us that we need to celebrate a full year of history, learning, understanding, and affirming our identities, because this is what this nation is all about. I could not be more proud of our students that pioneered this historical moment, and those of us who took on the challenge to make their strong voice a tangible action. With all that I said, we must remember that this curriculum must keep up with the times. We need to ensure that it's always revised, that we reflected on it, and that we provide additions, because history is always moving forward. Thank you for the opportunity to be in here. I could not be more proud to represent an agency that has served the state for so many years. And then you have given us the charge to work with an amazing group of individuals from the pioneers that really begin this movement and to see this to fruition. So thank you for the invitation. And please know the SERC is here to support you in anything that we can. And we listen, professional development. If we don't see ourselves, we cannot be it. And if we don't know what we don't know, we cannot teach it. So let's make sure that we continue the movement forward. Thank you so much for the opportunity to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And now it's very exciting to bring in two students from the Hartford Public Schools. We're going to start with Nasha Pereer, and she will be followed by Monet Obang. So Nasha, please welcome and talk about why you're excited to be learning this new curriculum and why you think it's important for young people.
First, I want to say thank you for this opportunity in general. Also, it's actually Nasha, not Naya. But
thank you so much. We were asking you and Nasha, thank you for being with us. We want to get that right. It's really important.
Yes. So since I am a part of the Black Lives Matter Club and I am African American myself, I feel like Black history is extremely limited. You know, in this day of age, you go into schools as students and you look through textbooks and you see Lincoln and you see Kennedy. You don't see Maya Angelou or Madam T.J. Walker. You know, it's very limited. So I feel like you shouldn't have to get into a club just to hear about your history or someone else's history. There shouldn't have to be discrimination or racism in communities or in schools just for it to be brought upon because it's in a negative way. So I feel like, especially in this society, this topic is extremely sensitive and a lot of people can't talk about it. It's very touchy, but nothing's going to change if we're not comfortable, if we can't talk about it, if we can't act upon it. So yeah, that's my perspective on it.
Wonderful. That was very well said, Nasha. We so appreciate your participation, and we're going to go to Monet Obang.
So my name is Monet. I first want to just thank you all for this opportunity. I'm very excited and I feel very lucky to be able to speak at this press conference. You guys were talking about how this is a very important day and I really agree. So being an African-American girl attending, I'm lucky that I'm actually from Danbury High School. I attend Danbury High School and I'm actually very lucky that Danbury is a diverse town and I do get to see people that look like me attending that school. However, I did partake in numerous advanced placement honors classes with which when I was in class, I did not really, my classmates were African-American, they weren't Hispanic. I looked around me in class and everybody was white, they all were white. And I do agree with I stand in solidarity with one of the representatives that said that they did not look forward to February at all. I did not look forward to hearing about the Civil War, to hearing about slavery, to hearing about, African Americans and segregation. I did not look forward to hearing all that. Looking around class, I felt like everybody was staring at me because I was the only African American in my classes. I felt like everyone was staring at me and I just didn't feel comfortable learning about those because I feel as though we should celebrate African American success stories during this month. And actually yesterday, marking the first day of Black History Month, I asked my mom in the kitchen, I was like, today's first day of Black History Month, I think we should celebrate by saying like one reason, like I was trying to be quirky. I was like, one reason we're proud to be Black each day. And my mom said, if African Americans were celebrated and were acknowledged, it goes far past 1 month. We wouldn't need a month if we were all equal. And I totally agree. And unfortunately, being a senior, I will not be able to experience the courses that are being offered, but I did take on the opportunity. I was an avid member of the Black Lives Matter Club in my school. And I also took part in Model UN and a bunch of other clubs to which I could learn more about African American history and educate myself. And I do think, though I love having that opportunity, I do think that it's unfortunate that I had to branch out and do my own research to learn more about people of color, as opposed to learning it in my history classes. And so I think this idea is a very good idea, and I'm very happy for the next generations who are able to learn about this. And when I do attend college this upcoming fall, I am looking forward to joining African American groups to learn more about our history. So I thank you guys again for this opportunity. And yeah, that's all I have to say.
Monet, thank you so much. And Monet said she goes to Danbury High School. Nija, could you tell us what school you attend, please?
I attend the same school as Monet.
Oh, excellent. Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
For that. So now we're going to turn the program over to Rob Blanchard of the Governor's Office. We are very proud to be joined by so many of our media partners, both television and print, and Rob's going to field questions. Rob, the floor
Great, thanks.
is yours.
Thank you again to all the participants, as well as Lieutenant Governor. Just a reminder again to please mute your devices until you're called upon. We'll start with WTNH. All right, maybe we'll move on to the Hartford Current.
Yes, hi everyone. Thank you so much for such a great roundtable discussion. I appreciate it. Representative Sanchez and Governor Lamont, you both talked a little bit about the need to increase the active recruitment of teachers of color as a way to correct some of the wider disparities that we're seeing in terms of who leads the classroom learning. Can you talk a little bit about those recruitment efforts, and also what is being done to train current teachers to become more culturally competent and effective teachers, specifically in connection with this new legislation?
Want to lead it off, Bobby?
Sure. Thank you, Governor. The question was, what efforts are we making presently? So we're getting information from SDE and from local Board of Eds to find out what are the obstacles. One of the things that I'm finding out too is that the certification process seems to be an issue as well, particularly if you have people coming from outside of Connecticut. And I'll give you an example. We had a teacher come in from Puerto Rico a few years ago with a doctorate's degree in mathematics. And when she tried to apply for a job at a local Board of Ed, they looked at her transcripts and said, "Oh, you're missing 2 courses. So you're going to have to go back to college and take those 2 courses. And then you would have to take the praxis here in the state of Connecticut." That to me just made no sense whatsoever, because this individual had been teaching on the island of Puerto Rico for 15 years, and she had a doctorate's degree on the island at a certified university on the island that was certified by the United States of America. So why could this person not teach in our school system was beyond me. So we really have to take a hard look at the certification process. And I think Doug, Senator McCrory can chime in too, because there is a program that CREC is offering presently that would assist in us getting more teachers of color in the classroom. So if Doug doesn't mind, he can chime in regards to what's going on now. Doug, are you there?
Yes, Bobby. And that was a very good question. I don't know if the governor wanted to go before me, but Governor,
either way,
like to respond? Okay. So what we're finding in the state of Connecticut and in many other places that our schools of education are not producing enough teachers of color annually. The numbers are very low. And the reality are we're recruiting and developing more teachers from other career pathways to what we call as an ARC program, alternate route to certification program, which is a quicker way to get students certified. And a lot of those people that we're getting in these ARC programs are already working in our school systems. They may be paraprofessionals, they may be tutors, they may be coaches. They all have bachelor's degrees, and they have already demonstrated they have the capacity to work with the students, and they're accepted by the students. So the best way and the fastest way to get a larger number of teachers of color into our classrooms is working with our ARC programs. There's about 3 of them throughout the state. One of you mentioned it was over at CREC. We also have a relay program. We also have another one. So what we need to do is we really have to market education as a great middle class opportunity and a profession. We don't do that very well. And we got to start encouraging our students to go into the field of education. Many of them don't go into the field of education because of the experiences they had in the classroom. We have to change that pathway and provide opportunities for people who already have a bachelor's degree to get certified. And we're doing that at the state level right now.
Yeah, Michael, I'd only add to what Bobby and Doug said. During the first 2 years ago, we eased up the certifications, in particular for historically Black colleges. We wanted to make it easier for people who want to teach, people of color who want to teach, make it easier for them to be able to come to Connecticut and be able to teach here. So kids have somebody at the front of the class and they can identify with, or somebody who look different than them. We can learn together. Secondly, we put in place some mortgage incentives and other incentives to keep people here, keep people teaching. We continue thinking about other ways we can send people to be teachers. What an amazing profession it is. Maybe you teach in one of our distressed communities for a period of time where you're more likely to be able to get that student loan forgiven. Different ways we can remind people how important it is. And just more broadly, if you see somebody, thank them for teaching.
All right, thank you. Moving on to Fox 61. Okay, Hearst, Connecticut Media.
Hi, I'm here from Hearst. I'm good though, I think, on questions. Thank you for putting this on. This is great.
Okay, thank you. Connecticut Mirror. All right, Waterbury Republican American.
Yeah, thanks. I joined a little late. I'm just trying to get a sense. Is there another bill pending this session? I've been just looking through the Education Committee, and I haven't seen one yet, but I'm not done scrolling through. So is there some sort of bill going to be forthcoming on expanding this curriculum?
Paul, I'll just say for Native American history.
Well, I understand the Native American history. I know I've seen that bill. I'm asking about Black and Latino studies.
I will say that there's conversations that we have in light of everything that has taken place in this country over the last 12 months. This legislation that we have here requires school districts in the state of Connecticut to offer the class. I think we're at a point now in our country that this class should be required class like any other class. We should require this class, not just offer it, but require it for every student that leaves our public schools in the state of Canady. Now that's showing real leadership, and that's what we're looking to move forward this session.
So will you be raising a bill then?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks very much. And I did see, and I can't scroll back up because for some reason when I'm on Zoom, I don't understand why, but you know, it's the era we live in. There was a bill on, I believe, minority suspensions in schools. I didn't get a chance to read that bill, but can you give me an idea what that involves?
I'm not quite sure what bill you're referring to,
Okay.
but I know there's been a committee that's been working on social emotional learning, and there's an entire community that's working on social emotional learning in our classrooms and safety in our classrooms. So maybe it might have fell under that umbrella.
Okay. All right. Thanks very much. That's it for me. I appreciate the round table here, and you're taking the time out to answer my question.
If I may, Senator McCrory, I did introduce that bill. It's a bill called the Push-Out Bill. And what's happening is girls of color, and especially girls of Black girls, are being suspended at higher rates than other students. And so the bill calls for a study to be done to look at the data to see not only this is happening, but what's causing this to happen.
All right, thank you. We'll move on to WFSB. And last but not least, the arts paper with Lucy Gelman. All right, Lucy just left. I think that concludes our program.
Thanks everyone for joining us.
Thank
It was a
you.
good day. We're just
Great
getting
job.
started.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.